in terms of a protective mechanism. I think when we feel anxious or when we feel upset, we don't feel safe.
Yes.
So we want to go to something that feels familiar to us.
Yeah.
And when things don't feel familiar, we either, shut down, or we find ways of coping with it that maybe aren't very helpful for us, or we shut away people that maybe want to try and help us or connect with us.
Sometimes we can flip to anxiety. Well, we can flip to anger and frustration when we're really actually feeling anxious and nervous. Hello and welcome to the Therapy Floor with Dr. Ritz and Dr. Vicky.
We are on the floor getting deep into the human experience, unpacking people's everyday dilemmas through the lens of two psychologists.
Let's start unpacking today's dilemmas. So today's dilemma comes from a 34-year-old male who says he drags his feet with tasks. There are so many things to do, different things to do, and I don't know where to start, so I don't start any of them. When I finally decide to do it, I get quite annoyed when things don't go to plan. Here's an example. I had a new work desk being set up at home. I was expecting 2 monitors and only 1 arrived. I was so irritated with the delivery company. I felt as though I was dependent on them to get the task completed and my hands were tied. I found it difficult to focus on anything else. For example, I would walk over to where the desk is to keep looking at the empty monitor space. When I was stood there, I would get anxious, annoyed, and impatient. I kept going back to look at it and couldn't focus on completing my work. I know how I like to work, and when those conditions aren't there, I find it really difficult. Why does it bother me when things don't go to plan, and my anxiety and frustration stops me getting other things done? Thank you for this dilemma. So, Ritz, any thoughts on this?
Yeah, what's really jumping out to me initially is this chap has created conditions to work or to be productive, so to speak. And in his mind, anxiety and the lack of certainty that he associates the two together is what's stopping him from being productive. So certainty for him seems to equal feeling less anxious.
Yeah.
And when he hasn't got that certainty, when he hasn't created those conditions of having the 2 monitors there that he can set up and, create this workspace that he imagines for himself, that then starts to bubble away and, trigger those feelings of annoyance, irritation, frustration, anxiety.
Yeah. I really like the fact that you touched on the lack of certainty causing anxiety or the association with the two, because I didn't necessarily think of that straight away.
What were you thinking?
I was thinking about the lack of control creating the anxiety. But I think it's more than that, like you were saying, because at the beginning he said that he even really struggles to get started when he has lots of different things to do. And so at that point, you're not thinking about the lack of certainty, are you? You're not thinking about the lack of control. You're thinking, what's this going to look like? Where do I start? How is this all going to play out? How will I fit it all in? Do you know what I mean? And I think that speaks more to the lack of certainty versus just the lack of control. So yeah, I thought that's quite an interesting point.
I think the two also probably slide in quite well with each other, don't they? There's probably going to be a bit of complementing going on there. Because I also agree with you that I do think there's a lack of control here, that he feels, he's getting annoyed at the company.
Yeah.
The company is somehow controlling his ability to be productive.
Yeah.
So I think he does probably hold that in his mind as well, like, I'm out of control, my hands are tied, I can't do anything about this. And that frustration is probably really carrying itself in his body. The way I'm seeing him tolerate it and manage it is, I'll keep going back to the desk,
pacing back and forward.
It's almost like if I keep going, then maybe it will just pop up. It kind of almost reminds me of like a child, maybe, that wants some chocolate from his mummy, and then the mum's like, no chocolate now, and then he'll like come back again. Is it there yet? Is it there? Has it happened? Has it happened? And I think there's a tolerating element to all of this as well.
Not being able to tolerate the fact that actually things aren't able to move forward in the way that he wants it to move forward right now. So I mean, his question was, why do I get frustrated over things like this? And I think with anything like this, with any kind of behavior that we typically exhibit or any kind of pattern of relating or being that we get into, we need to take a step back and think about, where did this first start? Like, how did this first come about? When did I first start to feel anxious and frustrated when things didn't go to plan? Or, in my life, what does it look like when things don't go to plan? Even as a child, what did you witness from people around you who, how did they manage their feelings of frustration or disappointment when things didn't go smoothly? How did people adapt to change around you? I think it's a good idea to start looking back to understand why we are the way we are right now.
And you know what? I would even encourage maybe going back a bit further. So maybe not even starting with the frustration and the anxiety yet, but just, what did making plans look like?
Yeah.
How did you, do you even have like first memories or ideas of yourself making a plan? Like making your own plan for something? Yeah. What did that look like? And then people around you, your caregivers, when they made plans, what did that look like?
Yeah. Yes, Ritz. Because the more we're talking about it now, I'm thinking it's the plan. It's the planning that is frustration, isn't it? Frustrating, rather. Getting started. Like there's a little bit of dis-ease with making a plan and following through with a plan. Adapting to a plan.
Adapting.
Yeah.
Adapting. I think that's key here, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. And it can be really, really hard. I mean, maybe I can talk about my own personal experiences and talk about times when I've been frustrated. And I was someone who really, really didn't like change and didn't like things kind of like, well, I think to some extent still, I don't like things kind of like not going ahead with the idea that I've set out in my mind. Like, this is how life is going to go. And when things come in, I'm like, this isn't part of the plan. But I think I'm better at it now. But I was just remembering when one of our friends, Kirsty, when she was going to leave to go traveling with her husband, not soon after we graduated. And we've been a 3, like, for all of our training. And I was like, I'm not happy with this plan. Like, this isn't what I expected. We were going to be the 3 musketeers.
Yeah.
What do we call ourselves? Neapolitan girls.
Neapolitan girls.
Yeah, different shades of ice cream.
I loved it.
Because Kirsty's white. So I was like, this doesn't fit in with my plan. Like, you were going to go and work in London. You were going to go into private work. Kirsty was going to go into like trauma. I was going to go and work in personality disorders, and our lives were going to bumble along like this.
We were going to still be together.
We were still going to be together.
Because we had so much physical contact as well. I think that was so important.
Yeah, and because you guys were such like a security blanket for me, like we had gone through such a difficult training period together, it was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to feel wobbly. I'm starting my career and I don't have my reinforcers behind me.
Yeah.
So that's just one silly example of how, I've really found it hard to adapt to changing situations because I had an idea that this is how things are supposed to go. And really, what was underneath it was, if plans change, will I cope? Will I still be standing, or will I fall short?
I think it was also underneath it all, I think you were just upset.
Yeah, there was that too.
Yeah, like, can I share?
Yeah.
Vicky, spoke to me afterwards. No, I don't think you spoke to me afterwards. I think in that moment, it was in the moment because I was quite shocked. I was like, oh my God, I'm a bit scared.
I was kind of semi-joking though.
Oh, were you? But didn't come across like She said, oh, okay, right, well, I think I'm just going to have to take a step back and just go through this on my own for a little bit, because I had this idea like we were all going to be together, and now that's not happening. So I'm just gonna take a step back from this friendship at the moment, and just not in a way where you were like, I'm not going to be friends. It wasn't like that. I think you were almost in shock.
Yeah, no, I was.
And so your way of dealing with that upset was to be like, I can't deal with it. I just need to protect myself from this. And if we kind of maybe link it back to what this fellow is talking about, I think he's doing the same thing in terms of a protective mechanism. I think when we feel anxious or when we feel upset, we don't feel safe.
Yes.
So we want to go to something that feels familiar to us.
Yeah.
And when things don't feel familiar, we either, shut down, or we find ways of coping with it that maybe aren't very helpful for us, or we shut away people that maybe want to try and help us or connect with us.
Yeah, I think so. I was gonna reference his frustration, and his anger, and sometimes we can flip to anxiety we can flip to anger and frustration when we're really actually feeling anxious and nervous.
I really am such a firm believer that anger is a secondary emotion.
100%. I really agree with that too.
Yeah. There's always something underneath it, usually upset or fear.
Yeah.
The anxiety part.
Exactly.
But the anger comes out first.
Yeah. So his frustration at the delivery company, my frustration at Kay for leaving, underneath that was some anxiety, or underneath that is some anxiety. And so again, going back to, what I was saying, what's underneath this, what does this say about him if he doesn't manage change well, or things not going to plan well? What does that say about him? Is he safe?
I'd be really keen to know, how has he managed change?
Yeah.
Like, what changes has he experienced in his life that were maybe out of his control? And how did that impact him? What did he learn about the world? What did he learn about himself in relation to the world? And then how did that form behaviours going forward for him?
Yeah. And then I think once he's kind of done some digging and he's had a bit more exploration about what all these things meant and what it looked like for him in his formative years, I'd then move to, okay, what does he need to feel safe? And what does he need to feel capable, okay, good enough, trusting the process, trusting that things will work out.
Because it's not certainty.
Yeah, it's not. No, that's the trap, isn't it? Thinking that we need certainty to feel safe, but we don't.
Yeah, because that's why he can't get started on these plans.
Exactly.
So you're right, it's about encouraging him to think about, rather than looking outwards at, I need this, and this to go to plan, it's about encouraging him to actually go inwards and think, what do I draw upon myself for me to start moving forward?
Yeah.
And even if it doesn't go to plan, or even if, that monitor doesn't come for another 2 weeks, well, he can't not work for 2 weeks, or maybe he can, I don't know, but that's not really productive.
Yeah.
He's almost then getting in his own way.
I love this. I love how we've kind of like started with something that may seem quite benign actually, and like, okay, is it really that deep? But it's deep enough that he's wondering about, why does this keep happening? There's something in his response that doesn't feel right somehow. Well, I don't want to use the word right, but he doesn't feel comfortable with.
It's not. It's a question. It's bothering him, isn't it? Like he said. Why does it bother me so much?
Yeah.
Like, he's interested to understand himself. But often, I think people do think, oh, I've got to go to therapy. If I go to therapy, I have to, I shouldn't be wasting the psychologist's time. I've had that a lot in my clinic, where sometimes clients have said to me, oh, but this sounds really silly to talk about. It's not, as you said, deep. It's not that deep. But actually, I think those are sometimes the most fruitful conversations.
Yeah. Or those conversations where someone comes in and I typically say, where's your mind been this week? And they're just like, well, I don't really have anything to say. And then we kind of sit through the discomfort of us looking at each other like, okay. And then something like this comes out. It's like that iceberg, isn't it? An iceberg on the surface seems quite small, but deep down it has deep roots, which leads into other areas of our lives. So yes, this may not be a life or death situation for him, but having a greater understanding of how he processes change, adapting, maybe not feeling like he's perfect, can manifest in so many areas and can lead to improvement in so many other areas. So actually things like this are very important to address.
Absolutely. I think at the heart of it all, what he's really hopefully going to be learning how to do is tolerate and hold himself through uncertainty.
Yeah. Because boy, life is gonna continue to
be uncertain
and throw up uncertainties. And just like, you know, that seems like a very benign situation that I brought up with like Kirsty going traveling, for goodness sake. But it helped me clue in to something deeper within me, which is, you know, how safe do I feel to be on my own, and what does it mean for me to be on my own?
It was almost like your wings were being clipped.
Yeah.
You know, these wings that we grew as a trio.
Yeah.
That we really support each other so much through our training. Like, I genuinely could not have done it without you girls. That's scary to then think, oh my God, we're going now into the real wide world and forming our own practices, our own clinics, having our own clients, our patients, whatnot, probably having trainees ourselves.
Yeah, exactly. And it led to something, you know, like deeper, which is, can I do this? I'm supposed to be here helping other people. What the hell am I doing? Can I do it? You know, can I do it if things aren't in a particular place that I've, you know, placed them in my mind?
It's that self-doubt, isn't it?
Yeah. But it was really helpful, actually. It's really eye-opening. And you know what? I didn't even realise it until you pointed it out, and until Kirsty said as well, like, oh. I think she might have been a bit upset with me, and rightly so. I mean, what a ridiculous response. But I didn't even realise that that's what I was doing.
But it was also such a you response. Like, I appreciated the authenticity of it.
Yeah.
Genuinely.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I was shocked, but then I was like, no, but that is Vicky. That is who Vicky is. Like, she's just, if that's how she feels, she's going to tell us, and she should tell us how she feels.
Yeah.
And it wasn't necessarily mine or Kirsty's job to take care of you through that, but it was to just give you the space to say, okay, yeah, you're upset, that's okay. And and I don't even think we figured it out with you. Like, you figured that out yourself, what was going on.
Yeah.
But it was more that we gave you the space to have those feelings. We didn't judge you for it. We didn't say, oh my God, now that you're being like this, we can't be friends anymore.
Yeah, oh, thank goodness you didn't. Oh my gosh. That would have been terrible. That would have been awful. See, I feel like I've totally eclipsed this dilemma today with my own stuff. But I hope that has been helpful for anyone else who sees themselves in the light of this guy or myself, just dealing with change, right?
Dealing with change, and if you're just somebody who doesn't like uncertainty, you know, hopefully some of these questions that we are posting to you and asking you to think about, asking this fellow to think about, hopefully they will just spark something in you that might start giving you an idea of if this is something that you're struggling with or thinking about.
Yeah.
If you guys learnt today, we would love to know. What do you take away? Drop us a comment down below. Just remember to please like and subscribe and follow us on our social media channels. This is Dr. Ritz
And Dr. Vicky.
and we'll see you on the floor very, very soon.
Bye.
Bye.